Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Banda Global Forum. I'm Banda Khalifa, and this is the podcast where we speak directly with the leaders shaping public health innovations across the world. And today, I'm truly honored to host one of world-renowned bioinformatician and public health scientist. He currently serves as a director of both the Center for Epidemic Response and Innovation at Stellenbosch University and the KwaZulu-Natal Research Innovation and Sequencing Platform. He's also the Deputy Director at the Genomic Surveillance Unit at the Wellcome Sanger Institute. As an esteemed professor of bioinformatics, his groundbreaking work spans over 2 decades, significantly advancing our understanding of major viral outbreaks from Zika to HIV to dengue and to SARS-CoV-2. He's a globally renowned for his pivotal role in detecting and responding to COVID-19, specifically the Beta and the Omicron variants. His visionary leadership in genomic surveillance has earned him numerous prestigious awards that I can't mention all, but I'll just highlight a few. He was named among Nature's top 10 scientists of 2021, MIT Technology Review's Innovators in Breakthrough Technologies, and also listed in Time's 100 Most Influential People, both in 2022 and then again in 2024. So without wasting much time, let's invite our special guest, Professor de Oliveira, to the platform.
Hello and good morning to you and to all your viewers.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. I've been looking forward to this conversation for a long time, mainly because of the incredible work that you've done. I mean, during the COVID-19 outbreak, I was so excited and inspired to see that we are having concrete work from Africa. We are at the forefront of discovering new variants in Africa. So it was really, really encouraging. So I decided that, we need to hear from you. And I know like most people also know you are keen with mentoring students. So I wanted you to share a bit about those initiatives that you've been involved in. But before I start, can you share a little bit about yourself, your early career, and what first sparked your interest in genomics and bioinformatics?
Okay, thank you. I started in the genomics and bioinformatics field very early. To be honest, it was a nascent field. So I started that when I was doing my graduation, when I was still in Brazil. And then because at that time it joined my two passions. I'm a biologist. I come from a biomedical background, but I learned to code computers when I was very young, when I was a child. And then was an exciting new field where you use advancing programming, and then on computer systems to analyze biological data. So I started in that field around in 1994. Was at the moment the human genome has not even been completed. And it was an exciting time to start working with a new nascent field. It was a time that the internet was also starting. And then during that time, I started coding multiple software applications, which I still do when I have time.
Yeah, that's an interesting background. And also reading your background, I see that you started your bachelor's in Brazil, and then you went to South Africa for your master's and PhD, which is pretty much very unique because most times what we typically know is people start their bachelor's in Africa and then move to countries in the West or elsewhere to do their masters and PhD. So what drew you to South Africa for your graduate studies?
Okay, the answer is quite simple. Yeah, was mostly because Nelson Mandela, not directly, but my mother. It is she's originally from Mozambique. Yeah, and she went to Brazil, basic in exile. During that time, you had apartheid in South Africa. The
Mm-hmm.
apartheid government, yeah, funded the civil war in Mozambique. Yeah, and then when the apartheid fall and Mandela became the president, yeah, my mother decided to go back to Mozambique. She went to take some very senior positions at United Nations organizations in Mozambique that were helping to reconstruct the country. Yeah, and during that time, my two sisters and I, we were at university. We were still at graduation, and then my mother went back to Maputo and then left us in South Africa because especially Durban was close enough that you could drive to Mozambique for the weekend. Yeah.
Okay.
And South Africa has very good universities, yeah, which then that's where came here, and then I got in love with the country, with the people, and end up married a South African, have three South African children, and so now I am South African, and very happy to be able to contribute to science from here.
Yes, yes, and I mean you've done an amazing job. We are very proud of the work that you've done. Yeah, that's such an interesting journey. Um, and I mean you've done it all. You've seen it all. You've moved from Oxford to Edinburgh to Washington, and now at Stellenbosch University. How has all these experiences influenced your approach to science and leadership?
Yes, yes, thank you. Yeah, I complete my PhD in South Africa, yeah, at the Nelson Mandela School of Medicine, which was also a very special school of medicine, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
which Nelson Mandela gave it the name because was the only medical school in South Africa that would accept people of color. Yeah, and when I complete my PhD, I did a relatively successful PhD. I published 30 papers during my PhD and allow me to compete from one of these very prestigious fellowships. Yeah, that in the case I got awarded a European Commission Marie Curie fellowship to then go to University of Oxford. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
which was fantastic because even before I went to Oxford, I was already working with some colleagues there because when before that I have coded some software applications that become very useful, yeah, and which people use in Oxford. So when I arrive in Oxford, I end up in what was the top virus evolutionary group in the world that was headed by Edward Holmes and Andrew Rumboldt. We had a great experience. Yeah, really learned quite a lot there. And then after that, I also follow with another fellowship, yeah, a little bit later, another prestigious fellowship, the Royal Society, yeah, Newton Advanced Fellowship, where I work at the Sanger and Edinburgh University. Also, the Wellcome Sanger Institute is a phenomenal place, the biggest genomics facility in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that was quite important to also be exposed to very advanced science, both at Oxford, at the Sanger, at Edinburgh. And that is it's you learn also to work with different people. Since then I took some associate positions. I'm associate professor at University of Washington in
Mm-hmm.
Seattle. Seattle is also another very fascinating place, yeah, with very advanced global health and tech. But despite all this moving around, yeah, my heart is still in Africa. So despite now I am the deputy director of a unit, a very great unit at the Wellcome Sanger Institute. I'm still associate professor at University of Washington, but I spend the great majority, 90% of my time here. But by working with Americans, with Europeans, with
Yeah.
British, yeah, with African researchers, you learn to value diversity, not in a way that you can look at problems from different angles, yeah, and come with different solutions. So that really shaped my scientific career, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an interesting and very impactful journey. Um, and one other theme that I want us to explore is Africa's, genomic capacity. And I know you've done so much. I recently interviewed Christian Happy from DRC, and I mean he's also somebody who is also doing a lot in terms of genomic surveillance, genomic sequencing. So I would want to know why you decided to start, genomic centers like KRISP and CERI right here from Africa.
Okay, thank you. Of course, it's very important to have these facilities where close the epidemics emerge. Yeah, and it's important not only for Africa, it's important to the whole globe that pathogens are well described and characterized sometime close where they emerge. Yeah, so you just say that you talk to Christian Happy. We are very good friends. Yeah, we work
Mm-hmm.
together. We were together in Kigali, in Rwanda last week. Yeah,
Yeah.
but both like as he did. Yeah, I also took the challenge of start new centers and new institutes. So the first one that I started was 10 years ago was CRISP. At that time, I was at was in South Africa, the Wellcome Center in South Africa, the Africa Center. But what I decided it is that if I was to have a true big impact, we would need to start our own research institute. Why that? Because the Wellcome Africa Center was a great organization, but it still had a lot of these colonial ties. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so they still prioritize a lot of, especially with a new director at that time, of the research should be done in Britain. Yeah, and what I thought is that we needed that research to be led from Africa. So I
Yeah.
start CRISP, yeah, 10 years ago. It is what is say, it is normally, we like to joke, that's a fine line between courage and stupidity. Yeah, because it's not easy to start a completely new institute and center in
Yeah.
Africa.
Mm-hmm.
That was very successful. Yeah, we built very well. Was at CRISP that, for example, that we set up the national program of genomics in South Africa, and we discovered the beta variant. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then I decided to open another institute now in the opposite coast of South Africa, in the west coast in Stellenbosch, that's next to Cape Town. And why I did that is because allow us to attract more talent. Yeah, yeah. Cape Town and Stellenbosch are very well developed place. Yeah, Stellenbosch is a very rich university in a very beautiful setting,
Mm-hmm.
and it's quite important. Yeah, that a lot of time you have to attract people. Yeah, so now we offer them to be in Durban or Cape Town, where we have a big lab, or in Stellenbosch. Yeah, and that's what we did, and we have been very lucky that we have been attracting some of the top global talent, including some South African professors that have been in the UK for a decade and that
Mm-hmm.
decided to return when we opened CERI. Yeah, and of course that one important thing is also to not only attract senior talent but invest in the new generation, and that's why these two centers, CRISP and CERI, has spent, to be honest, dozens, close to $100 million in the last 10 years doing capacity building. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
we are very lucky that we have hosted over 700 fellows from
Wow.
over 50 African countries, and that in a way that when they go back to the country they are still supported. Yeah, and we can work in a network so more pathogens can be quickly described and controlled before they become global problems.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting perspective, and I'm happy that you brought the idea of investing in future scientists. And I've seen that you've advertised a couple of fellowship positions, the African Stars Fellowship, and then recently an MBA component. So I want you to just talk through what the Africa Stars Fellowship is all about, what inspired you to create that fellowship, and what opportunities does this fellowship offer to young scientists?
Okay, thank you. So the African Staff Fellowship was built on the top of our large successful fellowship of previous 700 fellows. So
Okay.
we engage with a big foundation, the Mastercard Foundation, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this round it is funding 130 fellows. So it's
Okay.
relatively a big fellowship. So
Yeah.
we're gonna add another 130 fellows. And more interesting, in our first call for what we call two of the fellowships, the Advanced Translational Training and the Young Professional Program, for 40 positions, we got over 3,000 applicants. Yeah.
Wow.
And the quality of the applicants were absolute phenomenal. Yeah, we are
Mm-hmm.
so excited. We just finished the selection of the first 40 fellows. Yeah,
Okay.
and I can really tell you, yeah, there is a lot of talent in this continent. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, in your selection process, what qualities or skills do you look for? Um, what are the requirements for for these fellows at the time that they are applying?
Yeah, so each fellowship has their own requirement. Yeah, so a lot of that, what we are looking for excellence. Yeah, but we are also looking for potential. So, for example, the fellows they will write a few sessions of motivations highlighting the
Mm-hmm.
previous career, where they want to go. Yeah, also the leadership skills. Yeah, and they will also do a short video that they really pitch. Yeah,
Okay.
why they are some of the best applicants. Yeah, and we end up with applicants from 52 African countries, 52
Wow.
of the 54. And not only that, this fellowship is also for anyone that is from Africa or living in Africa. So in a way that we can transfer that to multiple different locations. Yeah. And the selection is very serious. We have to give the respect that the applicants deserve. Yeah, we are appointing 12 senior personnel within my organization, the university, that did the selection. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and we just released the first 40. Yeah, they're gonna be hosted either here at Stellenbosch at CERI or at the Institut Pasteur de Dakar, yeah, in Senegal. Yeah, and we are very excited from that. As you mentioned, we just advertised the MBA is a Master
Yes.
of Business Administration in Healthcare Leadership. So
Okay.
what we are looking is a lot for medical doctors, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that already want to become more in the leadership position, so they can transform the organizations, yeah, in a way that generate more impact in South Africa and in Africa in general.
Okay. So the MBA is reserved for those with a medical background.
The criterion, it is either physicians, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
or we also yeah, senior nurses that are
Okay.
in leadership positions, yeah, and also potentially also financial people that work already in leadership position and want to advance. So one very important thing that we need in Africa is also advance the financial management
Mm-hmm.
of both large programs, but also of hospitals and industries, yeah, that can generate some of the global health solutions. Yeah.
Okay. So how long is this? How long is this fellowship? Um.
The fellowships they range. For example, yeah, the MBA fellowship, it's a 2 years fellowship, yeah, which also including I can see some balloons. I don't know why. Yeah, which also include a placement in an international organization. So, for
Okay.
example, the fellows will be we have a program also with Oxford University, with University of Wisconsin Madison, with University of Washington, and we have also program with dozens of biomedical and pharmaceutical companies that can host the fellow for a visit, an international visit. Yeah, so that's the MBA fellowship. Yeah, the advanced translational training, it is a shorter fellowship. It's a 6 month fellowship, and the young professional program, it's a 1 year fellowship, which they spend 4 months in industry or in an overseas site. So what we are trying to do is to get these fellows not only training in leadership and technical skills, but that they also experiment a little bit what I experiment, this being also placed in some of the top institutions in the world, but with the conditions that they return to Africa, because that's where we need them to have a big impact in Africa.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a very very important initiative. Trying to build capacity within Africa and I think one aspect that is very appealing is the element of um, uh, um, providing the opportunity for them to go beyond the fellowship to learn something practical and then subsequently come back to Africa to provide support. And I want us to zoom out a little bit. Um, I know that South Africa has a lot of, I would say, renowned institutions because most of the time, most people, when they are going for example, an advanced degree in public health um, or elsewhere, South Africa is one of the destinations. If it's not, if the person doesn't want to go beyond the continent, most of them end up in South Africa. So I want us to um, maybe explore a little bit what other graduate programs or research opportunities are available for example, Stellenbosch University.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So, for example, the African Staff Fellowship, yeah, we also building quite close together the Institute Pasteur, yeah, the network of the Institute Pasteur, which fellows can also spend time in Senegal, yeah, which has a very strong yeah, center, the Institute Pasteur de Dakar, over 100 years, yeah. At the moment, we are also building a similar strategic partnership with the Rwanda Biomedical Center, yeah, in a way that both we have a co-mobility between South Africa and Rwanda, yeah. So just to start building that links between South Africa, the French-speaking African countries, yeah, and Rwanda, that's also advancing very fast in biomedical yeah, research, yeah. And of course we work very close with Christian Happy. We also have fellowship programs between us and Christian Happy at Nigeria, so just to link the continent, yeah. In Stellenbosch itself, we are engaging also to expand this fellowship program. So one thing that we identify with the Mastercard Foundation and the other funders, yeah, it is that they needed to also move some of the scientific discoveries to market. Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that we are engaging, for example, more fellowships on with the Stellenbosch Business School is one of the top three business schools in the African continent, yeah, on both leadership, economic management, and also with the engineering department, especially on
Okay.
bioengineering, yeah, industrial engineering. So as we train people, they can also be exposed to very methodical ways of how to also manage, yeah, new business, or but also how to implement that in a strong engineering support. And lastly, Stellenbosch University also have the #1 agri-science faculty in Africa. It's one of the top in the world. South African farmers are quite famous or
Yes.
infamous, depending who you talk. And we are also linking very strong in a way that we know that the relationship between agri-science and also animals, for example, from emergence of new pathogens, it's also quite important. So we are busy expanding the program. So initially, the program is funded in biomedical, and in business and healthcare leadership, but we will expand to include more of the steps, from production, to emergence of other pathogens from other animals, and how to move that with industrial knowledge to create, for example, the diagnostics, the therapeutics, and the vaccines here in South Africa and in Africa.
Okay. All right. I think that's really exciting, and I hope most people will start exploring these opportunities within the continent, because it's maybe very affordable compared to elsewhere, and you would likely get the same quality of education as you would get elsewhere. I know like COVID-19 is losing the steam, but I want us to talk a little bit about it, because I mean it's been one of the most, I would say, talked about um, pandemics in the last century or so. And I know much of the work, especially from the African continent, was done by your team and others. So could you explain to us like the current state of COVID-19? Is it gone? Are we still having new variants? What is the current state of COVID-19?
Okay. In COVID-19, the virus haven't completely disappeared. However, the level of population immunity, due to previous infections and vaccination, and both, is very high. So any new lineage that is emerging, it is may infect people, but they tend not to get severe disease. So fortunately, COVID-19 is going in the same way as some of our previous coronaviruses that's still circulating, causing basic a cold, which is great news, because, but of course, this news came at great cost to the world, millions of deaths, and big very high infection rates, and big cost to the economy, So what we did in South Africa, I coordinate and I lead the network for genomic surveillance in South Africa, and that we completely pivot. So at the moment we have a very efficient national program on respiratory viruses. So for example, South Africa is one of the only true Southern Hemisphere's countries, it's basic us and Australia, that are doing real-time genomic surveillance of influenza virus and RSV and metapneumovirus. So that is virus that's circulating. And why is so important that to be done in the Southern Hemisphere, like in South Africa, Australia, is that we have the opposite winter season from the Northern Hemisphere. So if you have ice, and if you are surveilling in both places, we're going to be much rapidly on discovering any strain that may cause high mortality, and then develop the biological countermeasures, So that's a big investment that we are doing, and we're doing that together with our Department of Health, our National Institute of Communicable Disease, and 10 other genomics facilities in South Africa. At the African continent, and at the global continent, we launch a global program that called Climate on climate amplified diseases and epidemics, where we respond very rapid to emergence of new pathogens. And that's an interesting program because we build that in the backbone of our fellows. We have over 700 fellows that have been well trained. So if they see a new outbreak, what we will do, they can choose to either send the samples, so we will sequence rapidly, or more important, we will ship then reagents to characterize that in real time. And we got very effective systems. We can get reagents in any country in Africa with 48 hours. So in the last 2 years, we have described outbreaks, very deadly outbreaks of cholera in Malawi, Mozambique, Cameroon, and dengue in Burkina Faso, in Togo, in Ethiopia, the largest one with a new variant. Yeah. And in the last few weeks, the emergence of a virus that is of global concern. Yeah, chikungunya. Yeah. Why is it global concern? Because it have potential to affect also defense. Yeah. So, for example, the U.S. Army itself invests a lot on chikungunya research, because the virus has the potential, if it spread very rapidly by mosquitoes, that can even get whole battalions out of function, because people they tend for 2 or 3 weeks have such severe pain that they cannot get in action. So a new strain have emerged in West Central Africa. It spread to Reunion, that's the French territory. It had a key mutation that is allowed to be transmitted by temperate mosquitoes, albopicus, which is highly present in Europe and the United States, and is likely to start spreading globally. So we help both the French, but the Mauritian government to characterize that in real time, and now to put that for the development of more accurate diagnostic vaccines and therapeutics. So that's a global program that we run, and that's building on the expertise that we build for years or for decades of responding to epidemics in real time, which became quite famous during the COVID, but we have been doing that for decades, with HIV, TB, and other pathogens. So we in the end, it is very advanced on early detection, and what we want is that we can detect early and develop the biological countermeasures, so these pathogens do not cause large global outbreaks.
Yeah, that's really important. And I've also, you often speak about fairness and avoiding exploitation in genomic research. What do you think are some of the immediate changes you would like to see in the global research community?
I think that's crucial, early detection. If you don't detect a pathogen early, and make that data transparent and public, it's very difficult to fight. It's the same as trying to fight your enemy without knowing your enemy. And we saw from the beginning of the COVID pandemic, that took many weeks to things to be well described so people could act fast. And that Africa do very well. So for example, we had a big outbreak of Marburg in Rwanda, was controlled in days, didn't spread. We had Ebola in Uganda, was well controlled. We managed to help the Mauritian government to respond well to chikungunya, didn't cause much cases, because they were quite well prepared. So that's very important. So we are big supporters on making data transparent and as early as possible, because that helps to avoid infections and save lives, and save lives of the whole globe. What would be great, is that the also the what we call the biological countermeasures, the diagnostic, the therapeutics, the vaccine prioritize it to countries that detect these pathogens early, because that is quite important, because then if they can control earlier, it spread much less further. Yeah. And unfortunately we didn't see that during the pandemic. We see countries hoarding everything that they could, from personal protection equipment to diagnostics to vaccines. So that's what we have to change. And that's what the pandemic treaty that was signed a few weeks ago at the World Health Assembly, it's so important. And the other thing that's very important is that countries and philanthropies, they support this research, and also the localization of development of diagnostic and therapeutics in countries that pathogens emerge, because in the end, the pathogens respect no border. You can put a travel ban, you can ban everyone from a country, but the pathogens will not respect that. And the effect to the economy when a pathogen is spread global is extreme. So we really have to start thinking a little bit less only about our own countries and borders in global health, and think about the globe. So for example, what happened now with the decrease of NIH funding and the USAID to Africa, I think that's a big biosecurity danger for the United States itself. Because one thing that was proven, that each investment of $1 in that kind of research and clinical trials end up saving, they estimate, like, generate $25 on saving income to the United States. So it's quite irrational that you take the funding where places that can help your country to be protected, and that can help your industry by providing the diagnostic and the genomes that they go to generate the therapeutic and the diagnostics. So I really hope that change, and people realize how irrational and how damaging can be to the United States itself to stop investing in global health, especially in Africa.
That's a huge challenge. Hopefully things get better. But before we wrap up, I want you to paint a picture for us. How is the vision for Africa's genomic future looking like? What exciting developments do you foresee for genomics research in Africa? How can countries be equipped to diagnose pathogens as early as possible without transporting samples across land borders, which would take several days? Because, as you said, the earlier a pathogen is diagnosed, the better. So, how do you see Africa's genomic future?
So on the global health, on pathogen genomics, I see African researchers and organizations leading the world. And so why that is not because they have more resources. We have less resources. It's just because they have much longer term experience of identify unusual pathogens. It happened hundreds of times. And so we have the kind, what you call the eyes and the ears on the field, from starting from nurses, from doctors, from diagnostic labs that are quite used to deal with unknown pathogens. And then what we have to do is to build what we are really investing hundreds of millions of dollars of my own team onto building this big network of well-trained fellows that can respond, that not only can look at the signals, but they have the technology and the skills to move a sample to a DNA sequence that can be analyzed in days or hours at high throughput. So that's is the way. So for example, other things that we are very excited that we are developing quite rapidly is what we call viral metagenomics methods. So it's methods that we have and we are fine-tuning in our lab that can detect any viral pathogen, over 3,000 different species, with the same assay, and then generate a whole genome. So we are training hundreds of people on that in Africa and distribute these assays, because what we see is a way that doesn't matter which pathogen it is, you can use the same assay, and that will speed up a lot the process. So that's one. The second one, it is advanced bioinformatics analysis. So we also happen to develop a very easy to use bioinformatic tools that can also analyze any non-pathogen, and that making in the hands of researchers where they need the most. And the third one is to really increase the logistic processes, because a lot of time you have to get these reagents in the countries in record time. And that's what we also invest in, that in a way that you go from detection to then now start creating an ecosystem that can develop companies that develop diagnostics, therapeutics, and vaccines close where that pathogens emerge.
Yeah, yeah. I think you've laid it out very insightfully. But for aspiring young African scientists, I know a lot of people who are interested in bioinformatics, who are interested in public health. What advice do you have for the young who are also gearing up to make an impact for the continent?
I think for the young, and we we host hundreds of fellows. It is just to believe. Believe that one, there is this great expertise in Africa in science. A lot of time the young people in Africa, as you highlighted in the beginning of the interview, they always going to go look to the north.
Yeah.
That's where the expertise exists. So believe that exists here, especially on global health and infectious disease. And look for every opportunity that you can, every opportunity to network, every opportunity to study. These days there is a lot of great resources online. Coursera has hundreds of courses.
Yeah.
In a Don't only wait for the opportunity for a fellowship. You start building yourself, and then in a way that make you more competitive, and then you can start competing for that kind of fellowships. We also engaging with lots of funders, government and foundations, and if more want to engage with us, we have great capacity to expand. We want to expand the African Staff Fellows in the next 3 years to host not 130 fellows, but to host 1.5 thousand fellows. And we have the infrastructure to that in a way that we can then create this well-networked, scientific, well-trained community that can react quick, but that can start also being trained on generating the industries to keep generate solutions and employment in Africa, because the important thing will be to generate the solutions so that African individuals and scientists, they can stay in Africa, that they do not have to migrate, and that where they can get a good job in science or in industry. And that would be great for the whole world. Would be great for Africa, but also would be great for the whole world, especially these days that on this great discrimination across the world.
Yeah, yeah. That's such a powerful note to end our conversation. Thank you so much for all that you're doing for the continent, and we are very inspired by the amazing work you're doing. Well, viewers, if this is your first time listening or hearing from Professor de Oliveira. I hope you will get to learn more from him. You can find him on LinkedIn, very active on LinkedIn with mentorship and sharing opportunities. So check him out on LinkedIn. So thank you very much, Professor de Oliveira. It's been a pleasure hosting you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Banda, and I hope your viewers enjoyed the show. But thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.